Welcome to the Nourish You Podcast, where we question the traditional model of dieting and nutrition and focus on choice, fun, and health for the whole mind, body, and spirit. I'm Jana, a non-traditional registered dietitian and well-being expert, and I want to challenge you to take 2% of your day today, listen to this episode, and make this your health win for the day. Pop in your earbuds, strap on your walking shoes, or pour a big glass of wine, whatever you need for today, and tune out the world as much as you can for the next 30 minutes, and let's fill up your cup. Hello. Welcome back to the Nourish You Podcast. I am going to be doing a solo episode today, and I'm really excited to share a little bit more behind my LPC method. So if you've been following me on Instagram or on Facebook, I've been talking a lot about the LPC method because it's something that I think is super helpful in our health journey. And so I wanted to dive in and share a little bit more around like the thought process of it for you to be able to implement in your own lifestyle. So I will say that the month of December is a month that generally is a really reflective time of year for myself. And then I also encourage my coaching clients to really have a rich experience with their own thoughts during this month, because it's a great opportunity to be able to reflect back over the last year to see what your progression looked like, to really be able to dive into the moments that you're really proud of, to be able to quantify those, see those, give yourself credit, and celebrate them. Because too often we go through each day or week or month or year, or whatnot, and it can all really become a blur if we don't take that time and the attention to see what it really looked like from a high level perspective, right? Like, so oftentimes, like when we're in it, we can't really see it all until after the fact. Then maybe more pieces to it make sense, or you just have more ability to take in the information that you've already experienced. So I encourage you to look at that for yourself. If you're on my mailing list, I sent out some different questions to really be reflective over this next month so that you can go into the new year really strong, already ahead of the game, and progressing in a way that is knowing you and your goals and what you want to move forward with. So let's get into it. Let's see. Let me think about this. When I was first doing outpatient counseling in an endocrinology group, I really started to, know my own style and was really working on how to better connect and understand the perspective of the person that I was sitting across from. And time again, I ran into situations where, yes, it maybe is ideal for someone to eat more fruits and vegetables, but maybe they aren't able to do that. And for many different reasons. There are so many different reasons why if we make a blanket nutrition statement, there could be barriers into making that happen. There could be access to food. There could be financial concerns. There could be emotional aspects. There's just so many different things that make up the human experience, if you will. And I always wanted to be mindful of that because I just remember thinking, like, I don't want to pass out a meal plan or hand someone a worksheet that isn't even relevant for their life. So I'll share this story with you. I had a coaching client. She was working with me to better manage her PCOS and her diabetes. And she was going to the doctor, and she asked, or the doctor said, you need to control your blood sugars better and lose weight. Something that she already knew, something that she was actually already doing. And he said, just cut out red meat. And she left there feeling really defeated and really frustrated. And when her and I connected, she shared that frustration with me and said, and I asked her, well, essentially, how are you feeling with this? Or what is the next best step forward for you? And she said, I know that I need to better manage my blood sugar. I know that I need to lose weight. That's why she reached out to me. But what was most disappointing for her in that interaction was that the clinician really gave her advice that was not relevant to her situation. So I'll give a little bit more backstory to this. This client has been a vegetarian since she was 10. So the recommendation to cut out red meat really wasn't appropriate for her. She had done that basically her entire life. And I've had my own experiences with that as a clinician previously, and then just hearing more and more stories as it relates to individuals receiving advice that isn't even appropriate for them and also doesn't make sense for their lifestyle. Perfect example is individuals that have a certain eating pattern because of their religion. So there's just so many different facets to why we as humans consume food that is even outside of those traditional, and I'm air quoting, nutrition recommendations that we see out there all the time. So this is why, I wanted to provide a little bit of backstory of how the creation of my LPC method came about, and really what I look for when I am interacting with individuals in general, right? So as you know, I'm a dietitian. I do coaching and consulting, and this is something that I look for not only in individuals, but actually also in organizations, because there's so much of these that overlap and impact one another. So I'm just going to break it down as it relates to the individual and how you can use this method, again, in your own lifestyle to really create a strong wellness plan that's going to last you longer than 30 days. So I call this the LPC method because it stands for your lifestyle, your personality, and your culture. So I firmly believe that when we have these three areas, your lifestyle, your personality, your culture, in alignment with who you truly are, I believe we create a just fantastic blueprint for your wellness game plan. So let's break this down even more. So I said lifestyle because while oftentimes, like if you were looking to create a healthy lifestyle, there are certain recommendations for how we traditionally define a healthy lifestyle. But your lifestyle is so much more than just your health acts. So typically speaking, and I'm just going to throw out a couple of things, like a healthy lifestyle, usually people think of, well, they eat, good, healthy food, they exercise, and maybe their stress is pretty mild and they get decent sleep. Like that, in general, like that would be considered a healthy lifestyle. And your lifestyle has so many more components to it. Your lifestyle really includes how you are going to move throughout your day in the sense of what are the things that you engage in. So I'll give this example. If you have a lifestyle where you have to travel for work, and that is part of your work, that's not changing anytime soon, we need to know that. Because another person's lifestyle could be staying at home and doesn't really travel that much. right? Like, so there's differences in overall lifestyle. There's also differences in overall lifestyle expectations. So do you want to be able to go out on Friday nights because you're a single boy or girl and enjoy yourself with your friends and be able to have some cocktails, eat out, whatnot? Is that part of your lifestyle? Is that something that you want? Or you're like, no, I'm really like over that. That's not my thing. That's never been my thing. I'm an introvert. Like, no thanks. Like, let's just stay home. I like to cook in. Well, that's part of your lifestyle too. Mind you, I have been both people. So this is your lifestyle changes throughout your life phases. We used to have something in my family where every Friday night would be the night where everyone gets together. We all go out to eat. And we had a favorite Mexican restaurant in Merced. We would go to that Mexican restaurant and we would have we would have dinner together as a family, no matter what. Like, that was the thing. And so if we take a look at that, like, do you have that thing too? Like, do you go out to dinner on Friday nights? Do you go out to brunch on Sundays after church? Like, literally, what is your lifestyle and what are the components of that you want to keep because they're really important to you, or that we maybe need to shift because they're not as important to you and they gradually rolled into your lifestyle. You're not really sure how they got there, right? Like, that's our opportunity to really get curious, really start seeing like, do I want to bring this into my next phase of my lifestyle? Or is that something that I can change and shift? We want to know these answers and in who you want to ultimately be, right? So that is part of the lifestyle aspect. So there's many, many more things that you can dive into, such as your work routine, right? Like, so I mentioned, like, if you travel for work, that's going to look different than someone that's going to be able to be home throughout the week. But how about this? If you are active and your job requires that you're on your feet, 8 hours plus a day, that's going to be very different than someone that is working from home at a computer. There's a difference in your lifestyle. Again, we need to know these factors because your plan is going to look very, very different than the person. So a person that is work from home and doesn't get many steps in for the day, their wellness plan is going to have different features in it than someone that is constantly on their feet, constantly moving throughout the day. No one plan is better than the other. We're really creating the plan to fit you, the individual. Then we go into P, where we really look at your personality. Your personality plays a huge role in how you engage in your healthy habits. Are you a person so typically, like we say, like type A or type B personalities. Type A personality would really be more, they need a schedule. They really are by the time. They usually have agendas. They like to plan out things. Things are a little bit more tight-knit, if you will. Versus someone with a type B personality would be a little bit more flexible, or they don't need to have everything planned out. They kind of go with, like, live in the moment. And it's really hard to have your workout on the calendar because you just don't feel like it for that time. And so you shift it, right? Like, there's so many different aspects of someone's personality that impact ultimately how they're going to achieve the goals that they set for themselves and the results that they're going to get. Another one, actually, this was something that I shared with my trainer. From a personality perspective, I grew up in sports and was used to more of the rough aspect of sports. and had experiences with coaches that were more direct, if you will. And it's more of like, you just get the job done and no mercy type philosophy. And I did not do well under that type of philosophy. I don't do well being yelled at. I don't like confrontation. I like everyone to like live in kumbaya. Like that would be wonderful. Does that happen? No. But if we're talking about our ideal like situations, that would be ideal for me. However, when I was talking with my trainer, I shared with her one of the reasons why her and I are going on like 4 or 5 years together consistently is because she meshes with my personality, and she doesn't yell at me. She doesn't demean me. She doesn't say, oh, one more rep, even though I did all of the reps. It's not like this militant practice. It's more of, how's your body feeling for the day? Can you do one more set? Check in with your body. Are you resting? Are you hydrating? Are you eating enough? If you haven't eaten, we're not going to overtrain. If you haven't slept, we're not going to overtrain, right? Like, so it's very much so tuning into what does my body say for the day and still keeping going. So there's never a point in time where I'm not working out. I'm just adjusting the plan. And so it's keeping the body in motion based on what the body is saying versus having to be the boss of the body and completely overriding the body. So very different approaches. Some people need the more like screaming and the boot camp and all of that stuff. Some people need that. If that's you, go for it because that's going to work for you. If it's not you, you don't have to go for it. You have to find what is you. So if you need more of that gentle approach, cool, right? Like that's who you are. There's nothing wrong with that. Just know who you are. Like that's really, man, if I could just pause there, just know who you are is the biggest part of your success plan. It's not trying to like rationalize BS or excuse your way into like, oh, I can do this. When you know deep down, if you were to gut check that, like I always say, these are gut check moments. Is that really you? Like, are you really going to be that person that wakes up at 5 a.m. when you have for your entire life always liked waking up at like 8 and then you can work later? Or like, right? Like some of these things that we try to do for ourselves, we're kind of just kidding ourselves. How can we be in the reality of your situation and still keep you progressing because we have all this information of who you actually are, what you actually want to create, and how we're actually going to do that. Okay, so we've gone through lifestyle, we've gone through personality, and then culture. So the C stands for culture. And I wanted to read off a definition of culture because I thought it was so helpful, because culture is, there's a much broader term of culture than I think most of us are educated on or think about just by default. So the definition of culture is the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. Now, the last couple words there, or other social group, is what I like to really focus on, because your culture is all around you. You have a culture with yourself. We always have a relationship with ourselves. We have a culture within our family, your household. We have a culture within our extended family. So think of it like your grandparents, your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, right? Like the extended family. You have the culture around you of your community. You have the culture in your state even, right? Like there's just differences state to state and within the communities. But I really like to focus on this because, well, this gets me really excited. It's connected to my thesis in graduate school was on social norms, and our culture, or the social norm, very much so drives the culture that we experience. And so I really like to dive into this because I'm located out of the Central Valley in California, and we have a different culture or social norm than Northern California or Southern California. We have different social norms and behaviors that impact us than anywhere else in this state. And they could say the same about us, right? There oftentimes is a social norm of going out to eat for entertainment. We have a lot of restaurants in this area, and a lot of times we use that as entertainment for many different things. That's how we have our socials. That's how we have different community events. That's how we have different networking events, right? It's oftentimes it's around food, and that's across the board. But this is good information to know because this is part of your culture and needs to be part of your game plan when we are thinking about how can we set you up for success. So I share this because we see this one a lot, or I see this one a lot when it comes to family norms around eating, particularly so I'm going to give this example. If I was to turn away food, it could be seen as being disrespectful to the person that made the food. And so in order to show respect, I would eat the food because that's what you did to say thank you. And from the respect aspect of you took all of that time and energy and effort and love to make this particular meal or food item. And so I am going to show you that I reciprocate that by actually eating it. That is a very common one. And that's a very common area of conversation with my coaching clients of how do you want to navigate either having a smaller piece, because sometimes people will serve you up the large ones, or I hear this one big time with men in particular. Oh, you're the big boy, so here's your big slice. And they don't want that big a slice anymore. It's too much for them. They're trying to lose weight. So if someone serves you, how do you navigate turning that food away, or maybe saying, not now, but I'll take some later? How do you now navigate those conversations? And that's a really big one for this time of year during the holidays, is there's so much food around. And a lot of times people feel guilty if they don't have the food because they know how much time and effort and energy and attention that person is given. That's part of the culture aspect. So I hope that this has been helpful to better understand the LPC method. I also overlap this with my care method, where I really walk people through 4 different stages of essentially behavior change that needs to be achieved to really have that ultimate sense of health and well-being. And typically, based on the women that I work with, it's really a better sense of self. It's a better, healthier relationship with food and also with your body. So I really overlay this with the care model, where we step into curiosity, acknowledgement, acceptance, respect, and then finally excellence and embodiment. So there's many different layers to really caring for yourself. And I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this really brought about maybe some different aspects that you can think of for yourself and how it may, hinder your progress or how it may accelerate your progress, right? So all these different areas can also accelerate the results that you're receiving if we have the support around us in order to achieve that. All right. So I would love to hear which one stands out for you. Send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, or if you haven't done so already, join my mailing list. I would love to be able to connect with you there too. All right. Until next time. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to tune in. If you loved today's content, leave me a review letting me know exactly what you liked best, and remember to share my podcast with others to join the Nourish You community. If you want more great content like this between episodes, I encourage you to join my mailing list. You can click the link below in the show notes or check out my website at www.healthwins.org, and let's stay in touch. Until next time, I'm Jana. Talk soon.